everybody, it is Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon to support the channel. So, we are in a bit of a weird situation right now. I'm just going to start off by sort of saying, first of all, I got a new computer. That's why we're in this room. This is going to be our office, and basically back here we're going to put a bunch of posters up. It's going to be really nice, but the problem is that the new computer that I bought is having a lot of problems. Basically, it's blue screening me like every day. For every day, like, it crashes for some reason. So, basically, I need to return the computer. Like, that's basically the gist of it, is that I gotta return it and buy a new computer now. And I'm a little bit frustrated with the situation, since a brand new computer should not be blue screening you over and over and over again. So now we have to take it back. I have to print out all the receipts because I bought it online. It's just a whole mess, right? And so the lighting in this room is weird. It's just weird in here, but I want to get as many videos sort of done and out as possible. Also, Hunter's not here because he has an exam, so he basically said, hey Cal, just go on without me because I'm really busy. I'll catch up, and this episode's not going to be like anything like giant anyway. And he was sort of right. Like, it's not like that you guys would have been like, man, I wish I saw Hunter's reaction. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like anybody died or anything. So, in that regard, you know. But yeah, I'll probably be having to record on my phone again for a while because I have to go soon. So I just wanted to record my analysis. Then we have to go take the computer back and all this types of nonsense. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to do this today at least. I mean, I can also try to go back to my normal computer. I can record on my phone. Like, we're Gucci. It's okay. We've been through this before. Again, I'm just frustrated because I've had basically computer issues for the entire month of December. Like, my computer broke, and then I had to get it fixed, my old computer. So I bought the new computer because I didn't know if my old one was going to be fixable. Then the new computer came delayed. Like, it was supposed to come a specific day, and it didn't, and now it's a broken computer. So it was a late, broken new computer. Anyway, let's get into RWBY, though. Y'all don't want to hear me complain about my computer this entire video. So first, we kind of theorized yesterday these guys are the card soldiers. I'm thinking that we were sort of correct. Maria says, oh, I know the commanding officer, and then she goes, enemies, that's the one, or, well, Yang is like, enemies, because they're all trying to guess their relationship, right? And Maria's like, that's the ticket, that's the one. Crow was already, like, he's just clocked out. Like, he fucked off very, very fast in this episode. And I love, this episode's just so funny. Like, all the lines are just delivered so well. Like, Maria's just like, well, maybe she's dead. Like, you know what I mean? And that's just, oh man, like, it's just full of great moments. This episode has so many funny lines. Just a very well-written episode, if you ask me. For the, I guess, the comedy parts of it. We'll get into feelings about exposition later. So we got Winter baited, right? A lot of people thought, oh, the commanding officer's a she, it has to be Winter. Then it wasn't. So a lot of people theorized the Queen of Hearts. Now, she doesn't look like the Queen of Hearts to me, but in Alice in Wonderland, the Disney movie, the Queen of Hearts has a king, and the king is like a really short, gray-haired dude, and so I wonder if she's supposed to be sort of a gender-bent King of Hearts, or whatever he's called in the movie. I don't think he has a name exactly, but it's just like the king, and the king is really short and tiny, and is like, obviously, the queen is the actual queen. So she may actually be the sort of representation of that, the King of Hearts, I guess, is what he would be. I don't know. But yeah, you guys know what I'm saying, right? There was this really short king character in the Disney version. So I don't know if she's supposed to be the Queen of Hearts, because she doesn't really have any of that sort of Queen of Hearts feel about her, and though she is a commanding officer, like, the king did have some powers. It was just the Queen of Hearts was higher up, and so maybe she's not the highest that they could go here. Maybe she is based off of the Queen of Hearts, though. I don't really know. There's nothing in her design that speaks to me, and so I feel like for such an iconic character, it would be a waste to make her the Queen of Hearts just because she doesn't look like anything. Like, it would make a lot more sense to me if she was supposed to be a gender-bent version of the king, you know, and there's somebody higher up. And I like how Maria's like, I see there's that same old stick up here, and Rui's like, no, don't do that. But yeah, this episode was just really funny. This episode also was good for world building because it did show sort of the Atlas attitude, I guess. Like, I'm not saying everybody in Atlas is like a crazy person, but it really seems like in this case, right? Little bit, right? And she mentioned the tower again. Like, this this port, this communication tower, right? Like, we're all hinting back to the tower. I'm pretty sure the tower is going to be important. I said this in a theory video earlier this week, but I'm pretty sure Tara is somehow going to help them, like, sneak in or get in contact with Ironwood, like, just something like that. It'd also be interesting that if it is a gender-bent situation, that Ironwood would actually be the Queen of Hearts, and that she would be the King of Hearts. Not that they're in a relationship, but it's because Ironwood is the Tin Man, right? And he, like, historically, the Tin Man whole thing is that he doesn't have a heart. So to have sort of a dual character inspiration like that, that would be like, interesting. Especially because if Ironwood's paranoid, it's like an off with his head situation, right? And maybe Ironwood's costume has changed since the last time we saw him. Maybe he's like donned in red, you know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, they mentioned the tower again. Tara's definitely gonna be involved. They looked like that they were getting through to her for a second, like a millisecond, until Weiss started, like, she's like, I know General Ironwood is like, and then, you know, she took that as him being a coward, right? Which isn't what Weiss was trying to say, but I think, like, when Ruby was like, oh, you know, we know Atlas isn't at fault, we were there, and then it just all went downhill, right? Like, what a disaster. But yeah, the Atlas people are super paranoid, it looks like. It's good world building, because we get to see the Atlas attitudes. We get to see also the world sees Atlas, because she's like, if the world wants to make an enemy of Atlas, so be it, right? There's also some faunish racism. She looks at Blake when she's like, questionable characters, and Weiss is like, what that's supposed to mean, bitch? Like, you see this look on everyone's face, but you see that Blake feels bad, and in my reaction, I was like, no, Blake, this isn't your fault, right? I'm sure Blake blames herself a little, like, oh, well, what if I wasn't there? Maybe she wouldn't. Well, I mean, it's also kind of Juniper's fault. They seem to have left a bad first impression. But yeah, so I feel like that's gonna be interesting. That's just interesting character development, because Weiss is like, what's that supposed to mean, bitch, right? We see how far she's come. We see the expression on Yang's face, but we also see how Blake feels bad in her ears, a little droop. And I'm like, no, don't do that, Blake. It's okay. Right? Anyway, I'm pretty sure the plan is just, like, Crow's trigger word now, because he's like, the plan? We don't have a plan, right? Because Ozpin was like, yeah, I don't have a plan. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And so I was just like, I have a plan. Like, as a viewer, I was like, our plan is to get Tara to sneak into the communication tower. Like, that's the plan. You know what I mean? So Nora's like, well, let's ask Ozpin. He knows what to do. And everyone's like, about that. And so they explain Jin. They explain everything. They explain, this is just the back of my dress. Never mind. I was like, what the fuck is he, like, back on my neck right here? No, it's just the knot for my dress. What was I saying again? I don't know. Oh yeah, okay, so Jean and Ren and Nora, they get the fill-in, and John and Nora are both mad, which I thought was interesting, because a lot of people thought it would just be John, but I'm like, no, it makes sense for Nora and them to be mad too. Like, everyone seems pretty pissed. And then Oscar should have kept his mouth shut. Like, as soon as Oscar started, like, talking, I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna be good. Like, don't draw attention to yourself, buddy. You know, he's like, hey, it's okay. No need to panic. And I'm like, Oscar, honey, no. Like, as soon as it panned over to him a couple times, I'm like, he's gonna open his fucking mouth. And I'm not saying that what Jean did was justified, but, like, what else did we expect, really? Jean's voice acting is really good in this scene, so good job, Miles. Facial expressions are also very good. Like, you see this exchange between Jean and RWBY when everybody's like, Jean! Jean! And RWBY's like, Jean! And then Jean finally stops, and then Jean looks at Oscar, sort of looks away, has this moment to himself, like, what am I doing? And then he goes upstairs, like, this isn't what Pyrrha would have wanted. Like, that's how I imagine how he sort of feels. So facial expressions were really good this episode. Really conveyed, like, the inner mechanics, or the inner sort of ticking gears, I don't know, like, you know, of all of the characters. RWBY is throwing a lot of stuff lately. She, like, tossed her phone, she tossed the bottle, and Maria's just like, fuck, like, I just want to be out here and, like, be an old lady and eat my fucking fruit. Like, that's such a grandmother thing to do. I just love it. I think that Maria is taking on the caterpillar role from Alice in Wonderland, because when I saw that big butterfly, I was like, guys, it's Alice in Wonderland for sure. It's a butterfly faunus. Obviously, that didn't happen. I said that on Twitter. It wasn't in a video or anything. If you guys are like, when did Cal say that? No, I said it on Twitter. I was like, But I think that she's actually taking the role, because the butterfly in Alice in Wonderland, at least in the Disney movie, it's like, it gives Alice advice and stuff like that. right? And it also reminds me of the blue butterfly from Life is Strange, like, your choices matter, bitch, you know what I mean? But I actually just really, really liked it. Like, I just really liked sort of the butterfly symbols and stuff. But yeah, I do think it is a reference to Alice in Wonderland. Like, I can't see how it's not a reference to Alice in Wonderland, if that makes sense. So RWBY doesn't even know if they can trust Ozpin anymore, which I thought was interesting, because I thought RWBY would be the one to be like, no, we can still, like, we have to depend on Ozpin, we can still trust him, but she's actually of the other opinion that no, we can't. I thought that was just interesting. I thought that was a cool line. And Maria's like, you don't give yourself enough credit, and then RWBY's like, aw, thanks, and then she's like, that's not a compliment. That went over my head the first time. I think basically what she's trying to say is, hey, you don't give yourself enough credit as a leader. And then RWBY says, thank you. And Maria says, oh, that's not a good thing. Like, no, you gotta believe in yourself. I think that's sort of the idea. The exposition, get it? Because it's the exposition about the eye. Ha, 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 ha. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting because it's like a grandmother telling you a story. Like, it's not just that we're sitting in a house for 3 volumes and getting exposition, if that makes sense. Like, it's interesting because it's like, sort of like, my grandfather does this. My grandfather just, I feel like he has certain words that recall memories. And so I'm a picky eater. And so if I complain about something we're eating, my grandfather will tell the story of how my uncle, when he was a kid, hated pasta fagioli, pasta and beans, that's what it is, right? But when they left Uncle Dominic with a family friend, he ate 3 bowls of the pasta and beans because he didn't want to complain and make a fuss, even though he hated it whenever my grandparents would make it, even though it was basically the same Italian dish, the same thing. So whenever I say something, my grandfather's like, well, I got a story about that, right? It's pretty interesting how old people are just like that, I don't know. But I guess in that regard, right, like, the exposition is really interesting because it's like a maternal figure. It's like listening to a fairy tale, right? Like, we talked about this before, and I talked about this in a couple other videos because I took a fairy tale class this semester, but, like, the matriarchs of the family, the grandmothers, would, like, get everybody to sit around in a village, in a community, and it's folklore, right, the tale of the common folk, so the grandmothers would all kind of gather around and retell these stories and then pass on the stories, right? And then the next grandmother, you know what I mean? Like a generational thing. And so I think that they're really using that to their advantage right here, right? And this does mean that RWBY and Maria are somehow related because they are powerful bloodlines. And so the bloodline had to start somewhere, right? So some Grimm turn into stone. You can blind some Grimm. You can vaporize some Grimm. So what happened to the dragon? It was frozen on top of the tower. So it seems like it's stuck in stone, but it's not actually, it didn't actually, like, crumble. So it seems like RWBY only did half the job. But RWBY seems very easily frustrated, too. She, you know, she's like, if I knew everything, I wouldn't ask. And Maria's like, calm the fuck down. Like, you gotta chill, right? We see, even though Maria doesn't have any eyes, you see in her robot eyes how she's fondly remembering her father, and I think that's just so cool how the animation is able to somehow convey that. I don't know how they're doing it, but when Maria's sort of looking up like this and remembering her father, like, that just, I don't know, that resonated with me, and I'm like, how can she emote so well without eyes? Like, it shows how good that RWBY is really getting with RWBY and just in general. And she says that the eyes shone like mirrors, and that obviously the truth will rise revealed by mirrored eyes, like, we get it. And people are like, how are RWBY's eyes mirrors? And, like, this sort of explains it, is that they reflected the darkness of the world with light and, like, all of that sort of stuff. And Salem is seeking to destroy them. That's how it seems, right? Her semblance is not seeing dead people. That's a big oof, like, for Arnold. He made that theory. I was so proud of him for that theory, too, which I guess sounds kind of condescending, but Arnold was always like, I just don't have the mind to make theory videos, like, I just can't do it. But Arnold made that theory, and that's, like, one of the first theories that he made for the volume, right, other than the one about John somehow being related to Salem and whatever. And so I'm like, oh, like, I wish it came true. I know Arnold doesn't care. Arnold doesn't care about being right because he's nothing like me, right? Because I care about being right. I want a good theory, a right theory, or a weird theory. Like, those are the three things, right? Because I do crack theories from time to time, and it's fun. And so I know he doesn't care, but I was like, oh, like, I miss my dead people. I really like that theory, but sad times. So, F in the chat for Arnold's poor theory. Anyway, I really like how RWBY was like, well, how can I laser beam the Grimm? And Maria was like, no, like, not like that. But it's a desire to preserve life. And basically, Maria explains that, you know, RWBY's desire to protect her friend, so Pyrrha, it's about preserving Pyrrha's life, so to speak. And so she can't think about it as, hey, I want to destroy the Grimm. She has to think of it as, I want to save the people of Remnant. I want to preserve the life of the people in Remnant, right? And so she says that the light that she thinks comes from the god of light. And I thought that was interesting because obviously that was a theory Hunter and I had because the god of light did that whoosh and it's basically the same as the Silver Eyes. But Hunter and I were struggling to kind of think of how that connects to Ozpin. I guess it could be sort of both because before we were like, well, maybe it's something that Ozpin, if he has like sex with people in his regular body, they, you know, their children have silver eyes because Ozpin's half magic and this is a way to do half magic, half regular human, and then when you do Salem and Ozpin, two magical beings, it's pure magic, right? And so that doesn't necessarily fit in with this theory anymore, but we could maybe think that the god of light gave Ozpin the ability, maybe, to procreate more silver-eyed warriors, if that makes sense. So it would still be a power from the god of light, but bestowed on Ozpin to make his life easier. If that makes sense. And that's why there's so few of them, because Ozpin is still human. He can't just fuck everybody, you know what I mean? And so it could still be both theories. But I was struggling with, okay, but how does this connect to Ozpin's children, right? And so that's why Hunter and I had sort of two ongoing theories. One theory was the god of light somehow bestowed it on Remnant somehow, but then the population was wiped out, so it would have to be after, and so that's why I was thinking, oh, maybe he bestowed it on Ozpin, and it was through the procreation of him doing it with other people, right? That was his sort of last gift, right? Or Ozpin did it because of his, you know what I mean? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? But I'm saying it could be both. Yes, it came from the god of light. Ozpin is the vessel to make more silver-eyed warriors, right? So we don't really know yet. I'm a bit lost on that part, but it could also be the possibility that Ozpin goes into people who have like minds, right? It could be possible that this dad, right, who somehow had two silver-eyed warrior children, right, was like-minded to Ozpin because of those silver-eyed warrior children, and so it didn't necessarily have anything to do with Ozpin. So yeah, I'm struggling to see how this theory sort of comes together, but it seems like it was always sort of like, oh yeah, the god of light did the same thing, so obviously it came from the god of light, but how do Ozpin's kids fit into all of this? So I'm glad that, like, that was a really obvious one. I'm glad that Hunter and I were sort of right about it. I'm pretty sure everybody kind of figured, though, that the god of light was the cause, just because he did the thing. But now we got official confirmation, but I'm still struggling with how Ozpin fits into that whole scenario, I guess. Wow, imagine if Hunter was here. Like, this video is almost 20 minutes long, and that's without Hunter. But yeah, it only works on the Grimm, and that leaves RWBY confused because RWBY says that it was triggered by something at the Battle of Haven. Obviously, we know that was Cinder and her Grimm arm. So this seems to confirm, as far as Maria and RWBY know, that it's not about the Maiden's powers. And a bunch of people were confused about this, but in the DVD, right, you can see the subtitles, and Salem says, or somebody says, it was the Maiden's power that, you know, is a weakness, basically. Right, but if you look at the subtitle on the DVD, you see that it's not Maiden's power, it's Maiden's power. And so you guys may be like, Cal, that sounds the fucking same. So basically, one version of Maidens is all of the Maidens in the world, right? All of the Maidens that have ever been. But the way that it's written in the DVD implies this single Maiden, so Amber. So that implication would be it's Amber's powers. Like, basically substitute Maiden for Amber. So if Salem said it's Amber's powers that are the weakness, right? Because it's how Cinder attained them. Like, with the Grimm bug that has somehow tainted her. Like, tainted Cinder. And that's why it triggers, basically. And also she has the Grimm arm, right? But, yeah, so a lot of people are confused about that. They're like, well, maybe Maria just doesn't know, right? Because, you know, Maria hasn't probably, you know, come in contact with the Maiden, so she wouldn't know if it would attack them. But I think that that's not the case. I think that how it's written in the DVD has confused people, and it may have been an intentional misdirection. But you guys have to remember, it's not phrased as Maidens, like all four Maidens. It's phrased as a singular Maiden, so Amber's powers, right? That's how it's phrased in the DVD. You guys can go look for yourselves, but I want to clear up that sort of misinformation because that's what it seems like they're trying to imply to me, that it's like the Maiden's powers come with this weakness, so it's Amber's powers come with a weakness because of how you got them. Like, that's the rest of the phrase. So I don't think it's that Maria doesn't necessarily know. I feel like they wouldn't do exposition like this if it wasn't, like, at least mostly true. But yeah, this doesn't necessarily explain Ozpin's children. I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, Cinder didn't have the arm at Beacon, right? But then the dragon was there. So Cinder was just sort of caught in the crossfire. And then Cinder also had the Grim Bug in her, so there's that. So Maria basically talks about, like, you can't really, like, practice with it, but you have to create a state of mind you can tap into. So it's almost like acting, right? It's like recall those emotions when you sort of need them. And think of it as a way to protect the people of Remnant. And also the episode ends with, hey, Oscar ran away. Which, I'm pretty sure he didn't run away. I think that he may have just gone to the bar to hunt down Crow. Or maybe he did run away because he's like, Jean's gonna fucking kill me, and I'm scared and defenseless, and I'm out. Peace. Right? So this week I will be doing some theory videos, whether that's on my phone or on my new computer or whatever. But I do need to pack up this computer and get it ready to go. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. And yeah, that's my analysis. We can talk about it in the comments. I'll see you later. Bye!